On the news, President Tinubu mourns Kaduna airstrike victims, orders thorough investigation. Supreme Court dismisses Ihedioha's suit against Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma. And Nigeria Air Force NAF puts up presidential aircraft for sale, calls for bidders. Welcome to News Now on TV 360 Nigeria. I'm Sinsola Adigun. President Bola Tinubu has ordered an investigation into a military airstrike that accidentally killed at least 85 civilians in Tundubire village, Igabi local government area of Kaduna State. President Tinubu, in a statement by his spokesman during Galale, described the incident as very unfortunate, disturbing and painful, while expressing indignation and grief over the tragic loss of lives. The president directed a thorough and full-fledged investigation into the incident and called for calm while the authorities looked diligently into the mishap. He also directed swift and comprehensive medical attention for surviving victims while praying for the repose of the souls lost. As the Nigerian Army has taken responsibility and apologized for the airstrike that killed villagers and injured several others at Tundubire village in Kaduna State, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, on Tuesday visited the village where he profusely apologized to the people of the community, describing the incident as unfortunate. He assured the villagers that the Army has already begun a thorough investigation on the incident. TV360's Chidi Igwe has more on the story.
The Chief Army of Staff uses VC to explain what's happened. He said the troops had been conducting armed reconnaissance along Riwaya and Rimawa villages where movement of bandits had been observed, and that a decision was taken to strike based on observations and tactics usually employed by the bandits. But that after the strike, it later turns that the drone strike actually targeted innocent citizens at Tondonbiru village. He apologized to the villagers for the grave mistake, adding that the army had begun investigating the incidents. He also appealed to the people not to be deterred by what happened, but to continue to support the military in its operations to get rid of the area of bandits who are known to operate there.
My assessment of that unfortunate incident of Sunday the 3rd of December 2023 is that it's grave, it's regrettable, but we will do everything possible to prevent such an occurrence happening again in the conduct of our operations going forward. I've gone around to visit and interact with the members of the community. I've come again now to the hospital to see the injured, and this will help me to know the level of expertise that I need to put on the table in conducting the inquiry into what happened Sunday, so that that inquiry can come up with relevant recommendations that will guide us in the conduct of our operations going forward. The community has been enjoined to view what happened as just a temporary setback. It was not intended. It's regrettable, it's unfortunate, and we'll work with the community to provide necessary support to the community as a whole and to the injured persons so that they can quickly regain their...
Now, reports say the villagers were marking the Maulud celebration on Sunday nights when an unmanned aerial vehicle bombed some parts of the community, killing 85 and injuring 66, according to the Northwest Zone of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA. Now, this isn't the first time an incident like this would be happening. Sadly, in 2021, at least 20 fishermen were accidentally killed in a Nigerian fighter's jet strike on a jihadist camp in the northeast Nigeria. Now, going back in time, also if we track in January, at least 40 people were killed by a mistaken airstrike from the Nigerian Air Force in Renewable village of Doma local government area of Nasarawa State and the North Central. A research firm named SB Morgan says over 300 people have been killed since 2017 in accident strikes by the Nigerian forces. President Tinubu has ordered a thorough investigation into this current drone strike. Chidi Igwe, TV360 News, Lagos.
Well, let's discuss this further with the former Director, Department of State Services, Dennis Amakri. Thank you for your time, sir. Now, it seems like a case of another case of collateral damage yet again. But what do you think could have gone wrong with that operation carried out by the Army?
The Chief of Army Staff himself has said it, and it was very regrettable, an operational mistake, and of course the time frame is also very, very important. This happened around 10 p.m. in the night. Now the drones that were in there, the Predator drones, have seen the movement which matches the pattern of the bandits in Kaduna State, and then of course went ahead to strike. So we all know the problem that bandits have been giving to Nigerians for over the years, and now this accident came up to happen, and I think the Chief of Army Staff has gone ahead to visit the place, and then of course try to pacify the people. And I think there's an understanding, especially after the Security Council meeting that was held yesterday.
All right, now, when terrorists are embedded with civilians, like the DHQ said, proving a challenge for the fight against terrorism, how then should it be handled to prevent a repeat of this occurrence?
That's why they are saying that when there are terrorists among you, try and report it. You see something, you say something, and then of course, if you don't want to say anything, just move away. I give you an example. See at what is happening with Hamas and the Israeli forces, Israeli Defense Force. Hamas, the terrorist group, went and hid under a hospital, dug tunnels under a hospital, and then of course, when they discovered that this is where they are, they struck there, and then unfortunately, innocent civilians were hit. So this is the situation, and of course they told them that they should leave the area. Terrorists always do that. They use human beings as shield, to cover themselves, thinking that nobody is going to touch them if they are behind a civilian population. But I think the military themselves also have to restructure their operations, look at their, operations very carefully to make sure that everything is in precision. Precision bombing is very well recommended, so that they don't go and start dislocating or killing civilians. Of course, we know that they are not out there to go and kill innocent civilians.
Dennis Amakri, former Director, Department of State Services, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Moving on, the Nigeria Air Force has put up presidential aircraft Falcon 900B for sale, calling on interested persons to submit their bids for the purchase of the aircraft, which is part of the presidential air fleet. Details about the sale were contained in a flyer shared on the X page of the NAF late on Monday. According to the flyer, the aircraft was put up for sale following the approval of the federal government, and that all bids will be processed immediately after expiration of the deadline for submission, which is slated for December 24, 2023. To judiciary matters, the Supreme Court has dismissed an application by Emeka Ihedioha of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) in Imo State, seeking to be issued a certificate of return as the rightful governor of Imo, saying that Governor Hope Uzodinma wasn't qualified to run in the first place. In the ruling read by Justice Tijani Abubakar, the Apex Court dismissed the application for lacking in merit, describing it as unnecessary and vexatious, and awarded the cost of 40 million naira against Mike Ozekome for bringing the matter before the court. The Apex Court also dismissed the motion on the ground that it has no jurisdiction to entertain such a motion. The International Energy Agency, IEA, says cheap electricity from renewable sources could provide 65% of the world's total electricity supply by 2030. In its report, the IEA says this could decarbonize 90% of the power sector by 2050, massively cutting carbon emissions and helping to reduce climate change. Speaking with TV 360 Nigeria on the sidelines of the COP28 summit in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates Chief Executive Officer of Octopus Energy in the UK says Africa can develop a cheap renewable energy ecosystem which can unlock massive jobs on the continent.
We create jobs in all of the sectors that enables, whether that be in cleaner transport or in creating cleaner solutions for homes and for businesses. It stimulates economies. Today, I've been hearing from countries that started the move to clean energy earlier and have really benefited economically. So we have to look after the people who currently work in fossil fuels, put our arm around them and help them through this transition. Once we've built a solar farm, a wind farm, or put solar panels on the roof, the energy has no input cost. We don't have to buy the fuel. It comes for free every day with sun and with wind. And actually, that's what means, clean energy, green energy, renewable energy is the cheapest. The more we use it at the times it's sunny and windy, the cheaper it gets. In almost every country in the world, it's cheaper. Now, sometimes the very big investment to build grid-based infrastructure can be expensive. But working with local communities, with individual businesses and households, we're able to bring microgrid solutions.
As part of President Bola Tinubu's food security policy, the federal government has urged Nigerians to engage in planting activities, emphasizing that approximately 50 million hectares of the country's 80 million hectares of arable land remain unused. The Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Aliyu Abdullahi, issued this call from his office in Abuja on Monday while meeting with journalists covering the Senate. He suggested that some of these advantages include combating corruption, as hunger can drive some individuals towards corrupt practices, and alleviating poverty-linked crime, both of which can be significantly mitigated through enhancing food security.
The level of productivity growth possible in Nigeria is huge because the yield gap is a potential area of investment. And out of 70 or 80 in some statistics, million hectares of arable land available in Nigeria, we are only using 34 million hectares. The gap is more than 50%. So we still have a lot of areas, potential expansion. So I want to call all of you to, if you can, whether your backyard or within your neighborhood, if you have a space, measuring even if it's 4x4, with the kind of technologies that are coming into agriculture, we want to encourage you to plant something. That is a way to contribute to food security. The total package of this 8-point agenda, both directly and indirectly and even tangentially, agriculture and food security has a lot of role to play. And we realize this when you talk about food security, which is the first, economic growth and job creation. Agriculture has the capacity for every dollar invested in agriculture, it generates up to 25% job creation.
The National Agency for Food, Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, says that training and retraining of staff is very essential for efficient and effective service delivery for Nigerians. Director General of NAFDAC, Mojisola Adeyeye, made the assertion while speaking on Monday in Lagos during the opening of a 3-day training on anti-corruption, leadership in the 21st century and ethical values on the workplace. This report has details. To ensure that the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, continues to retain the top rank as an organization with trusted integrity and practices, its management has vowed to step up on trainings and capacity development. Speaking at this training on anti-corruption, leadership in the 21st century and ethical values in the workplace, the Director General of NAFDAC, Mojisola Adeyeye, emphasized the agency's mandate, which is safeguarding the health of the nation, must be accomplished.
I don't separate regulation from trade. No. If you have a good product, people will rush and buy it. It doesn't matter whether you are in wherever. If you don't have a good product, they will not buy. And that's what our business is all about. Whether it is food, whether it's drug, whether it's vaccine, whether it's medical device, whether it is cosmetics, name it. If we don't do our job well, we will have bad products. We will allow bad products to come into the country. And we will be like a sore thumb in the world. We don't want to be like that. That's why we are here.
In his remarks, a member of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Aminu Guswa, says NAFDAC management and other personnel are expected to reflect on their leadership practices and the challenges of managing change at the end of the 3-day intensive training.
This is the only thing we can do to make people to understand, to make staff of NAFDAC to understand the sensitivity attached to their profession. They are there to develop the humanity. Anything less is unacceptable. But we should also look at it, not to go beyond what we're doing here in NAFDAC.
Participants say the training serves as a reference point for all staff on the importance of placing a premium on the health and business of the customer and building the integrity of NAFDAC's regulatory framework.
The training is very, very much a welcome development. We all keep on learning every day. Nobody knows everything. There are new things that we're going to learn that is going to enhance and impact positively on our productivity for the agency.
It's important that we ensure that our work standards meet expectations. We have to be very ethical in all we do, very transparent, be very high on integrity, because they say integrity is telling who you are when nobody is looking.
The participants also believe the training is essential to ensure that corruption and other vices are nipped in the bud and values that build the agency are restored and practiced intentionally in the organization. Simisola Digun, TV 360 News. It's time for a short break, but coming up, federal government to revoke unused oil exploration license across Nigeria. Stay with us. News Now will be back in a bit. Welcome back. A recap of our top stories quickly. President Bola Tinubu has ordered an investigation into a military airstrike that accidentally killed at least 85 civilians in Tundumbiri village, Igabi local government area of Kaduna State. President Tinubu, in a statement by his presidential spokesman, Ajuri Ngelale, described the incident as very unfortunate, disturbing and painful, while expressing indignation and grief over the tragic loss of Nigerian lives. The president directed a thorough and full-fledged investigation into the incident and called for calm while authorities look diligently into the mishap. We also told you that the Nigerian Air Force has put up a presidential aircraft Falcon 900B for sale, calling on interested persons to submit their bids for the purchase of the aircraft, which is part of the presidential air fleet. Details about the sale were contained in a flyer shared on the X page of NAF late on Monday. According to the flyer, the aircraft was put up for sale following the approval of the federal government, and that all bids would be processed immediately after expiration of the deadline for submission, slated for December 24, 2023. Now, in case you missed any of our news bulletins, or for more updates, you can catch us on Limex World TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, or download our mobile app on Google Play Store and Huawei App Gallery. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. In business, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum and Regulatory Commission has disclosed the federal government is planning to revoke unused oil exploration leases that companies were granted but are unable to carry out any activities on them. Gbenga Komalafe, the Chief Executive Officer of the NUPRC, emphasized that only companies possessing robust technical and financial support would retain their leases. According to the latest data from the NUPRC, over 60% of prospecting licenses allocated to local and foreign oil firms have expired amid the nation's efforts to attract new investments aimed at boosting oil production. Vice President Kashim Shatima says the federal government, under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu, has taken bold and courageous decisions that would, in the long run, change Nigeria's economic fortune. Shatima said this on Monday when he received the management of the National Institute for Security Studies at the Presidential Villa Abuja and received the report of a study conducted by 86 participants in the Institute's Executive Intelligence Management course. 16 band. Speaking during the presentation of the report, the Vice President commended the faculty and members of the EIMC for their efforts, adding that recommendations of the study align with the perspectives of the Tinubu administration, especially the advocacy for investing in ICT and infrastructure development.
We are here to present our report on the research that on the theme of the course, which is globalization and regional economic integration, implication for sustainable development in Africa. We are here to present our report to the government because we were tasked to do that research, and that's what we are here to submit to the government, the Vice President in particular. Well, one of the things we talked about is for the need for African continent to be together. Trade among ourselves. It will be cheaper and more faster for us, and it will help our development as well. That's why we are talking about globalization, bringing everything nearer to us rather than be importing. The time wasted in importing goods, it's very expensive to import goods these days. You know that.
Among the recommendations we had, or we have for the government, is that the African continent is not the worst continent, but just that our interrelationship in terms of commerce, in terms of economy, need to be improved upon. Rather than trading between Africans prefer to trade with Europe and other parts of the world. If we can come back and make sure that our interrelationship between African countries in terms of economy and the rest is improved, Africa has a better chance of moving ahead.
We'll take another break and return with a review of the stock market. Trading on the second day, Tuesday, on Nigeria's equities market saw an increase of 0.43%, recouping previous day losses. The market capitalization stands at 39.8 trillion naira mark, with the market breadth ending positive as well, with 40 gainers against 16 losers. T-Secure Electronic Technology led the gaining streak with a 10% share price appreciation. It is followed closely by Multiverse, Mining and Exploration. Investors traded a total of 433 million volumes of shares valued at over 11 billion naira in 7,016 deals. And for our select global market, it's all negative trading for the UK's FTSE, the US Dow Jones and Japan's Nikkei again. All three equities closed down at 0.46%, 0.27% and 1.37% respectively. On the international scene, President of the International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, Marjana Spolarik, has denounced the unbearable suffering of the population in the Gaza Strip and called for a political solution. In a video obtained by the media, the ICRC president described the level of suffering of the people of the besieged Strip as intolerable during a first visit to the enclave since the beginning of the Israeli aggression. Spolarik also praised the humanitarian truce that was in effect last week and expressed the ICRC's willingness to support agreements that could reduce the suffering of the people of Gaza.
I've just visited the European Gaza hospital, and the things I saw there is beyond anything that anyone should be in a position to describe. What shocked me the most were the children with atrocious injuries and at the same time having lost their parents with no one looking after them. We are facing a situation here that will not be healed by sending in more trucks. We need to provide protection to the civilians in Gaza, to the women and children, to the elderly people that I saw today that have nowhere to go. The majority of people met today have been displaced several times.
And on sports, the Lagos state government has re-emphasized participation in sporting activities as a significant method of remaining healthier than resorting to drug use. The State Commissioner for Youth and Sports Development, Mobolaji Ogunlede, gave the remark when he received the 8 men who successfully completed a 3-day Ibadan-Lagos Marathon Challenge team run fast on Thursday, whom he applauded for their sportsmanship spirit. On his part, sports enthusiast and marathon leader Oluwafemi Oshinubi commended the organizers of the team run fast for putting up the competition, just as he urged youths to stay away from all sorts of drug abuse.
They've taken it upon themselves, and it's a laudable. I think they deserve a round of applause for what they've done. The 8 of them, they've run about 200 kilometers. They started 3 days ago, from Oyo, Ibadan Liberty Stadium, and they ended up here in Alausa. When I heard about the initiative a couple of hours ago, I thought it is only noble for me to be here to receive them as the Commissioner of Youth, to encourage them, to give them the support that they need. This pandemic called drug abuse, at the end of the day, to the youths, it's something that affects you, it's something that can kill you, it's something that will end up, affecting your entire system. A lot of people do it because they think it's cool. A lot of people do it because they think it's a way of living. But no, it's not a way of living, which is why we're saying say no to drugs, which is why we're saying, you need to keep safe. One way of keeping healthy is by jogging, is by running. And this is what these young lads have demonstrated to us.
We use sport as an avenue to create the fitness and say, okay, guys, let's do these things. Ibadan to Lagos, 250 kilometers is not something that is really worth the while. But we have to put on that tenacity to make sure that we use sport as a medium of physical fitness to make sure we promote healthy and physical lifestyle among the youth.
That's our bulletin on News Now. Many thanks for watching. See you again next time. Bye for now.